Do you know your why? Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, welcome guests. Do you know why you're here at Toastmasters? I can tell you my why. Some of you have heard this story, but I'm going to tell it again for the new folks. Many, many years ago, before I joined Toastmasters, I was the president of the board of directors for my homeowners association. One of my duties was to be the chairman or the MC for the annual meeting, where we would invite all the owners to a meeting, and as a board, we would present the status of the association, and we also held an election for any open board seats. Being the great procrastinator that I still am, I didn't prepare. I figured, I'll just wing it. What could go wrong? Night of the meeting, about 30 to 40 people in the audience. I got up, I think I was able to introduce myself. After that, my brain just left town. Complete blank. No idea what I was going to do. So I turned to my board members, there was 7 of us in all, including me. I said, can somebody please come up here and take over? And Claire jumped up, the vice president, and she took over, and I sulked back into the back of the room for the rest of the meeting. Well, Claire happened to be a member of this club, Confidence Builders Toastmasters. After the annual meeting, she came up to me and she said, have you ever heard of Toastmasters? I said, well, actually I have. I remember way back when I was a kid, my father was in Toastmasters. And I remember him dressing up and preparing his speeches with his note cards. He would head off, and always seemed like a fun time for him. I've been looking in the newspaper, those of you who know what newspapers are, Monica's joke. And I had seen the little, on the public notice things, the little things about Toastmasters clubs and the meeting times and all that. But I never had the courage to come to a Toastmasters meeting. I didn't have that big why, that big motivation until now, until then. When Claire invited me to come to the meeting, I said, what is it? She goes, it's Tuesday night, 7:15. I said, I think I can do that. I came to the Toastmasters meeting not knowing anybody, and as luck would have it, the only person I would have known wasn't there that night. So I kind of sneak into the room, and of course everybody there knows I'm new. President of the club, Gary Drum, runs over, shakes my hand, welcomes me to Toastmasters. He signed the guest book, get a name tag put on. Sat me down, gave me an agenda, and that was the beginning. My first Toastmaster meeting. I watched in awe as the speakers came up. The first speaker was giving his 10th speech, and it's an inspirational speech. And I was like, never be as good as that guy. But there were other things I noticed. I knew Toastmasters was about public speaking. That part I knew. But the things I didn't know about was about organization. The agenda has times on it. You start at 7:15, and by God, the meeting started at 7:15 sharp, and it still does. And there was, each section of the meeting had a time slot, and you kept to that time slot. The Toastmaster and the Table Topics Master and the General Evaluator, each running their own segments of the meeting, and they kept to the time schedule, and we ended on time. Wouldn't that be great if you're in business meetings would do that? Start on time and end on time? I had been making my agendas for our board meetings, but I didn't put times on them. So our meetings might run, we'd start 7-ish. It might run till 10 or 11 at night. It was crazy. So after Toastmasters, I started putting times on the meeting agendas, and it really helped. So what's your why? Do you know your why? Well, now that you're here, do you know what you're going to do with it? I remember thinking about way back when you learned to ride a bicycle. Did everybody here learn how to ride a bicycle at some point in their lives? Did you jump on that bike and tear down the road at 100 miles an hour the first time you got on it? not likely. You probably got on the training wheels at first, get the feel for the thing. And then maybe you rode it a little bit with your dad, your mom, running behind you, holding on. And then at some point, they'd let go, and they wouldn't tell you. And you're going down the street, how am I doing? How am I, oh, where are you? Oh. But the point is, you didn't quit. You kept going. You kept practicing. And at some point, after for a year or two, you're flying down the freeway with your arms in the air, no hands. Yee-hoo! It's like learning to play a musical instrument. I played the saxophone. I learned how when I was in grade school. Well, I didn't just buy a saxophone, set it in the corner, go open it up once a week and look at it, and maybe watch a video of somebody playing the saxophone. I actually had to pick the thing up and learn how to play it, and have somebody teach me how to play it and coach me through it. And eventually, by the time I got to high school, I was pretty good at it. The whole point here is that it takes practice. If you're in Toastmasters, how do you become a better speaker? You have to speak. How do you become a better leader? You have to take a leadership position. I have to say, that first year in Toastmasters, I was a little sketchy. I joined in March. It took me 6 weeks to do my icebreaker. I was scared. I was nervous. I had no idea what I was doing. But finally, my mentor coached me into it. He said, go ahead, do that icebreaker. I have it on videotape. I know some of you don't know what that is. The older of us here probably remember what videotapes are. I have it still. And I was like this, in the notes, had a prop, I held up like this, still looking down in the notes, and put it back down. But the point was, I did it. I got over that first hurdle. And then I figured out, hey, I could do this. These people are nice. They're going to help me. And about my third speech, I was getting pretty comfortable with the club mates. Somebody said, you know what, you need to go outside the club, speak before some strangers. What? Strangers? So they suggested I be a target speaker at an evaluation contest. So I did that. And I remember one of the evaluators saying I was the greatest speaker on earth, and I said, no, that's not true at all. I knew that, but it was so much fun to get the opinion of about 4 different people on the same speech. It was really interesting, and I found out, hey, it's not just my club Toastmasters that are really nice, it's all Toastmasters are really nice, and they're helpful, they want to help you, they want you to succeed. And it was then that I knew, if I'm going to succeed, I need to give speeches. So by June of the following year, I had finished all 10 speeches in that manual. And at that time it was called Competent Toastmaster, and so I got my CTM, hey! But why stop there? Then start moving on to the advanced manuals. The speeches went from 5 to 7 minutes to 8 to 10 minutes, to 10 to 12 minutes, to 15 minutes. Some of them were even a half an hour. Remember the after dinner speech? It's all practice. You need to practice. I've been in Toastmasters now 21 years. And people ask me, why? Why do you hang around? What do you get out of it? Well, number one, it's fun. It's a lot of fun. I've gone through the officer roles in the club. Currently, you're president for the 3rd or 4th time, I don't remember. I've done a district office. I was the division, what was then called governor, now it's called director at one time. That was a lot of fun because I traveled all over the division and the district during the contest season, being a judge for contests. It was great, had a lot of fun Toastmasters. But speaking is a skill. It's like a muscle. If you don't exercise that muscle, it atrophies. It goes away. I can give you an example of something I did when I was in high school. I was a ham radio operator, amateur radio. And back in those days, you had to learn Morse code in order to get a license. And I learned it. I studied it, and I practiced it, and I listened to tapes, and I finally got good enough to where I got a general class license. 13 words a minute, send and receive. Now, I haven't done that for probably close to 40 years. Do you think I know Morse code now? Because I stopped practicing. that muscle went away. So my fellow Toastmasters, my call to you is get involved, give the speeches, be a club officer, know what your why is, and go for it.